Hey all, this is me, Brian. Good morning. You guys are going to have to put up with Derby. He's decided himself again today. It's pretty nasty outside. It's still early, somewhere around 9 o'clock, maybe 9:30. What did you say temperature was? 34 degrees? 32 degrees. The wind is sustained at like about 20 miles an hour, anywhere between 10 and 18 miles an hour, gusting to 20 something. Pretty gnarly. Right? San Antonio Mountain is covered, at the top all the way with snowing clouds. Gibson Mountain, right? It's same, right? There's it's gonna be gnarly all day. Anyway, this morning on my feed, right, I was reading this lady named Mac Lineman, right? She's from Denver. She's a bicycle mechanic lady. She owns a nonprofit in Denver called Bikes Together, right? It's a lot like the Rusty Spoke that me and Numbers used to do over there in Phoenix. It's still going. It's a community bike co-op. You know what I'm saying? They sell bikes. They trade bikes. They educate you, teach you how to work on bikes. You know what I'm saying? The whole bit. You know what I'm saying? It's a community thing. They do rides. You know what I'm saying? All kinds of cool stuff. Events. You know what I'm saying? When me and Casey went out to the Fat Tire Festival in Phoenix a couple times, right, with the Rusty Spoke, and did some cool stuff, right? You know what I'm saying? Anyways, right? There are lots of these community bike co-ops all over Western America. Some in the East, on the East Coast, right? You know what I'm saying? And since the pandemic, you know what I'm saying, there's just this, like starting to become a recognized fact. Since the pandemic, right, bicycling in America has picked up, right? You know what I'm saying? A lot. Right, people are out there riding bikes all over, you know what I'm saying, doing the social distancing thing, you know what I'm saying, exercising, trying to be, healthier, doing good, good for the environment, you know what I'm saying, greenhouse gases and all that stuff, you know what I'm saying, right, this bicycling is a good thing. It always has been, ever since they first invented the first bicycle, hundreds of thousands of years ago, you know what I'm saying, the carvings on the temples in India, right, so bicycling is good. But this lady is hit on the topic, you know what I'm saying, that a lot of us, bike enthusiasts have known for, a number of years. Probably for like about at least the last 15, 20 years running, you know what I'm saying? And that is that bikes, even though bicycling is becoming a more and more popular sport, the bicycle itself is becoming cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and at this point now, it's basically a piece of shit. Any bike that you can buy, Walmart, Target, Kmart, you know what I'm saying, Billy Bob's, Western Auto Store, you're saying any bike, saying that carries a major brand name nowadays, Schwinn, Pacific, Murray, Huffy, you know what I'm saying, Kent, right? A lot of these, Mongoose, right? You know what I'm saying? What was the other one? DC, DK. Right, you know what I'm saying? A lot of the really cool little 20-inch bikes and stuff that came out in the 70s and the 80s, little BMX bikes and all that stuff, you know what I'm saying, are now under license by each brand, you know what I'm saying, to the Chinese, right, to build their bicycles out of Chinesium, right? And the dude that owns Pacific, right, worked the deal out, you know what I'm saying, somehow, some way, he himself, Pacific Bicycles, right, over there in China land with their own factory, they produce frames and bicycles for Schwinn, Kent, Hurry, Huffy, right, Mongoose, right. So all of the major brand bicycles in America are not only made in China, but they're all made in the same factory in China. That's why they all look alike. That's why they all last about the same average time, couple of 2-3 months, maybe a year, right, if you don't ride very often, right. And Sam, you think I'm fooling? Go down to Walmart and look. Right? Go to the Target. You know what I'm saying? Look online. Compare all of the major bike frame designs, you know what I'm saying, and styles for the last 10 or 15 years. And you'll get my point. I've known this for, I'm a bike enthusiast. I've been building bicycles since I was 9, 10 years old. Right? Here's another problem, right? Is that the Chinese don't have the quality standards that we Americans do. Right? Or that their only quality standard is production. All right? That tolerance doesn't matter to them. They don't really measure it, right? Really close anyway. I mean, because they're working from a design pattern that's been the same for 15 years, right? You know what I'm saying? And the vast majority of the Chinese are probably not getting paid very much. I mean, how much is a Chinese dollar worth anyway? Mexican money's worth more, ain't it? Right? You know what I'm saying? They got the commies breathing down their neck and all that stuff. So basically, they go down there and just punch their clock and go. So they don't really have any quality control, right? And they're using the cheapest materials that they could possibly get, so that they can make maximum profit off of the licensing, agreements that they have with Pacific Bikes. Right, the hardware is all bottom end. I mean, some of the dude I've seen, I've been at Target and playing with the brake levers on a Magna bicycle one day, and the cable actually broke. Right, and then you throw in, the store employees, that are basically stock people anyway. You know what I'm saying? And you put a couple of them back there and say, okay, you guys need to put together 10 bikes, right? One of them doesn't know how to put together a bike to begin with, and the other one, you know what I'm saying, really doesn't want to sit out back and put together 10 bikes. He'd rather be out there bullshitting around and faking for his money, right? So you're going to end up with bikes on the rack that have loose lug nuts, that the brakes are turned around backwards, that the fork's upside down, you know what I'm saying? And, right, they're not going to pay any attention to the inspection of the bicycle as they're putting it together. The frame might be cracked. You're saying the bearings might be so loose that you can't even drive the bike. The spokes could be loose. You're saying there is no set, inspection, right, sheet for them to look at when they're putting a bike together. They just follow along the instructions. If they're lucky, they're in English, on the other side of the Chinese. Right? And they just put it together and put it back out there. Half of the time, the bikes on the rack don't even have enough air in the tires to test ride it up and down the aisle. In fact, and a lot of you know this. Right? You know what I'm saying? Right? Now, their manufacturing process is way inferior to any manufacturing process that we had in America. Here, I'll give you a prime example. Right? Schwinn bicycles were always built in Chicago, Illinois, all the way up until like 1990 something. Right? None of those bicycles are shoddy, right? Are inferior. Right? A lot of those bicycles are still out there riding around, and some of the older Schwinns, remember, look at the playlist on my catalog, Adventures with Blue. That is a 1967 Schwinn Collegiate, that frame. It's all original, including the rack that's on the back. Right? I converted it into a better bicycle by upgrading it, right, to better hardware, better bottom bracket, better crank throws, better rims, better tires, saying a lot better bearings. You know what I'm saying? I took that old bike out of the junk pile that the rest spoke and built it into what it was, right? And it was a really good bicycle, but it was an old bicycle, Schwinn. You cannot take a new Schwinn collegiate bicycle anymore, right, and upgrade it like that. You can't, right? Because they're all made to the exact specifications, you know what I'm saying, of the Chinese drawings. And half the time when you try to replace the bottom end crank bearings, or if you try to, upgrade to a bottom bracket, it doesn't fit inside of the, of the crank tube. It doesn't. You understand? Or you want to change a seat post. You can't. You have to use the exact same seat post that you find, right, on all the other bikes. You can't. And the junk piles of these bikes are getting higher and higher and higher, right? Because once somebody gets once their Walmart bike breaks, the vast majority of Americans throw that sucker out in the backyard. How many yards have you driven by, Jared D, standing out there in Florida where there are just piles of junk Walmart bikes laying in the yard somewhere? All right. Now, are there any good bikes left? Yeah, there's a lot of good bikes. But the problem with that is, you know what I'm saying, that they're being sold by private bike shops, you know what I'm saying, right, for hundreds and thousands of dollars, right? You know what I'm saying? Now, your average ordinary bicycle enthusiast, you know what I'm saying, is only willing to spend $200, $300 on a really good bike. You You understand? You can't get a salsa adventure bike for less than $900 or $1,000. What? You can't get a really good Yeti downhill mountain bike racer for less than $4,000. Well, people ain't going to throw that kind of money away unless they have that kind of money to throw away and they're really serious about their bicycle sports. Some of the old guys that race up and down Central and Phoenix on Sunday, every Sunday like clockwork, some of those guys are paying $8, $9, $10, $11, $12,000 for their carbon fiber specialized, right? You understand? This lady she started this petition to try to bring, awareness to this fact. You understand? That the products that we're consuming in America now, they're all made under license. They're all being farmed out to China or Korea. You know what I'm saying? Mexico, right? Anywhere else where their quality control standards are lacking or very minimal. You know what I'm saying? Right? Should not be sold in any big box stores or chain stores in America. You're saying simply on the basis of profit. I agree with this. I know a lot of you agree with this. You know what I'm saying? Right? And at the same time, you're saying the bigger private entities that are selling these exorbitantly expensive bicycles need to lower their prices because look, right? Even some of those bike frames and hardware are sourced out to China. You know what I'm saying? So if they're buying it for pennies on the dollar, why are they selling it to us for hundreds of dollars on the dollar? There needs to be some kind of, even here, right? And the ones that control that are us, the consumer. We're the ones that decide what piece of shit bike we're going to buy or how much money we're going to lay down for it. Right? The longer that we let this continue, and it's not just bicycles, it's everything across the board. Electronics, housewares, clothing, you know what I'm saying? Look. This is a $124 pair of shoes. $124. I accidentally touched it one time with the fucking, it's a machete that was rusted, been laying out in the dirt for God knows how many years. I accidentally touched it with the machete, right? And it cut the nylon thread. $124. Right? What the hell? You know what I'm saying? Pandemic, no pandemic. Jobs or no friggin' jobs, dude. You understand? Money's getting tighter these days, and a lot of people are starting to wonder, saying just exactly, are we going to make it or not? Right? We went from the richest nation on the planet 50 years ago, right, to the biggest debtor nation in the universe. And most of that money, our government owes to us because of shitty business practices and allowances and tax incentives, outright tax waivers for millions of dollars, not just, a couple $100 in water bills a month, right? What the hell? This me, Brian. Right? Please like and subscribe, share this video, right? If you think the word needs to get out, we're getting ripped off. Thank you.